Howdy. Now we are going to talk about scanning, monitoring, forecasting, and assessing across the general environment to determine what trends are the most important for you and your industry. First, let's talk about scanning. We have already talked about the general business environment and how we can look at these different segments to see which ones might be the most important or relevant to a particular industry. And of course, that's going to look different based on the industry that you're working in. But learning about the general business environment is only helpful if you're paying attention to it. So look for early signals of things that might be changing in your industry. You probably need to pay attention to the news. Watch what's going on Capitol Hill. What commodities are becoming more or less scarce, which of course that also means that the prices are likely going up or down. How does this affect your company? You also want to pay attention to changes that have already happened. Scanning is kind of high level, and it just gives you a way to just generally pay attention. But next comes monitoring. After you've scanned, as you scan, you'll find that certain trends start to arise that look like they are more important. When you notice these changes happening, it's important for you to pay attention to them. Really, monitoring is just going deeper into what you have found while scanning. We're going to look at a couple of graphs here and see what trends arise or what patterns we can find. So in this graph, we can see that oil over many decades has gone up and down, and it goes up and down for lots of reasons. As a financial analyst at a large retailer, I used to monitor the weekly oil price because of how that would ultimately affect the cost of transporting our goods. That would directly lead to changes in the profit that we could make. Now let's look at this one here about lumber. So when home prices are high, builders can make a lot of money. So they want to build a lot of homes so that their businesses can be successful. This creates a lot of demand for lumber. Lumber then is very high in price. There are other things that can also lead to high prices, such as product shortages or delays in shipping. We've seen a lot of that in the last several years. So what does it mean when lumber prices fall? What has changed? Is there something that has changed? And is that something that as you watch it, if it's relevant to your company, hopefully you're watching this regularly, how would that lead to a change in your business strategy? It's also important to monitor other changes, such as changes in the regulatory environment, the laws that directly affect you, and also cultural changes that might change what your customers are looking for. Now that we've been monitoring an industry, it's time to predict the future. This is where forecasting comes in. We want to take the things that we've learned through scanning and even more through monitoring and see or predict what we think could happen going forward so that we can adjust a business strategy accordingly. You can't know for sure what is going to happen. This is uncertainty, economic uncertainty, and every company faces that. Your competitors also face that same uncertainty. Hopefully, though, you're the one that's paying the most attention and therefore hopefully have the best information. Do your best to forecast what may happen to you or to your industry or your company based on the trends that you are observing. For example, I went out and bought some extra wheat for home baking, just a hobby I like to do, because I realized that Ukrainian and Russian wheat supplies would likely be lower due to a war. If those supplies are down, then the global supply will be down and the price therefore should be up. So I went ahead and bought a little bit ahead of time. Another example to that is that the economy changes when the Fed changes interest rates. Home builders pay attention to that. As interest rates rise, home builders know that it's going to be more expensive to buy their homes. The borrowing costs go up. So a lot of builders will pull back on their construction and the volume of homes that they're building as a result of changes in those interest rates. They're essentially predicting or forecasting the future based on what they're observing. Some trends get a little bit bigger even than that. Look at the general development in your area. If you see a place with a lot of new homes and new homes being built over a long period of time, then you can be pretty sure that there are demographic changes happening. For example, a lot of neighborhoods might mean that there's a lot of new families in a town or in a county. Well, if that's happening, then there's probably going to be more need for schools. There's probably going to be more need for daycares and parks and a lot of other things that would be relevant for some industries. Finally, what can you do about it? This is assessing. What implications do your monitoring and forecasting have on the decisions that you would make? Assessing is getting into that decision-making process. Your forecast is only as helpful as what you can do about it. Identify what your company can do based on what you are seeing and identify the changes that you can make in response to your forecast. Changes in the general environment open the door for new opportunities. This is where strategic companies and entrepreneurial companies, including very established companies that seek to remain entrepreneurial, they pay attention to these changes and they try to take advantage of these changes that create new opportunities for them. So what important changes in trends are happening that could affect your industry? And what could a company do specifically to take advantage of those changes and the opportunities that come with them? It's an important question to consider. Thanks so much for joining. Have a great day.